Well, it was a long Mario month. I think I deserve a break. That's right, no more podcasting for me anytime. Oh no.
Hey, Martin the champ, I see you're relaxing. Would be a real shame if I suggested another theme month for us to do. Come on, how about it?
No, forget it. Forget it. I'm out. I'm not that person anymore.
But that was only a month ago.
No, forget it. Forget it. The old Martin is gone. Martin and Tartan is no more.
Martin and what? No, look, forget it. Grab your reviewing bits because it's time for the greatest month of all time.
We're doing Minions. Finally, Minions month.
It's time for the second greatest month of all time. Welcome to AniMAYtion Month. Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode of AniMAYtion Month. My name's Satsunami and joining me today is none other than the wrestler in boots himself. It is Martin MacAlistair. Martin, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. Wrestler in boots. Most wrestlers wear boots, but I'll take the compliment. It's good to be back. How are you today?
Not too shabby, thank you. The sun is shining and the films we're watching this month are actually good. Would you believe that?
No, this one's great, but we'll see what the rest of the month has to do for us.
Well, that's true because we do have a wild card that we're still waiting for at the end of the month. Wink, wink. And yeah, today we are diving into, and this is something that you and I were, I wouldn't say arguing, but
spirited debate.
That's exactly the word, thank you. A spirited debate about what kind of animation style this film is. And that film, of course, is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, when I looked it up, Google seems to think it's 2.5D combination between 3D animation and 2D backgrounds and things, a kind of nice blend between them, and you know, they get very funky with the frame rate, as it were. But yeah, others just say it is Spider-Verse animation. Is that right in saying?
That's what I would call it, because to me 2.5D, that could be anything from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, you know, like the whole blading up and stuff. It doesn't feel right, but I guess it is. But you know what I mean, it doesn't feel right with that Spider-Verse animation, which I don't even know if it's got a name yet, if it is just Spider-Verse. It feels so distinct now, and only a couple of films have used it, and each time people go, oh, it's just like Spider-Verse. So yeah.
Do you think Sony have copyrighted that term, Spider-Verse animation?
If they haven't, they're doing it right now as they hear this.
I love to think there's just one lonely intern in this Sony office just listening to us.
Oh my god, we haven't copyrighted it.
Boss, I don't care if you're in $1 million meeting, this is important. Satsunami and Martin are going to copyright it and sell you the rights back. Oh, anyway, devious machinations aside. Yeah, before we dive into this particular film, and don't get me wrong, spoilers, but it is a very good film. What was your introduction to this film? Because I think personally, other than seeing the odd advert here or there, I think it was you who actually introduced me to this film. So I'm curious, how did you hear about this film?
It's kind of wacky because I had absolutely no interest in this film at all, right? So to keep track, it is a spin-off to the third Shrek film, but a sequel to that spin-off, right? Mm-hmm. I'm right in that, I think. So I think I watched the third Shrek film once. I didn't watch the first Puss in Boots movie. And then all of a sudden this film came out and I didn't go see it in the cinema. And it was June, I think it was like the end of 2022. I was just trying to catch up on films that I hadn't seen. And a lot of people saying, oh, this Puss in Boots film's really good. And I was like, oh, cool. You know when someone says that to you and you're like, cool, I'll add it to the list of 1,000 films I have to watch. And I was scrolling on the Instagram or something one day and the clip came up of him fighting the giant at the start, the sort of opening sequence. And it was like a side-by-side with Attack on Titan. Because that scene, we'll probably chat about it in a bit, but that scene is pretty much an Attack on Titan rip. It just caught me so off guard. I thought it was so funny that the Shrek spin-off was doing an Attack on Titan thing, and so I decided to sit there and watch it just because it's only an hour and a half long or whatever, and I genuinely think it's one of the best films I've ever seen. I'm so glad I sat and watched it. I loved this film to the state where I think you were probably one of the first in the firing line, but I just messaged everyone I knew, people I hadn't spoken to in years. I haven't spoken to them like 10 years from school. By the way, you need to go watch this film. You need to go watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Don't argue with me. I understand it's a weird sell. It is probably my favourite animated film, I think. One of my favourite films of all time. Tremendous film. We'll obviously jump into the actual detail, but that was my experience with it. I wish I'd seen it in the cinema because I think it would have been absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, that was kind of my experience with it, and then I guess we'll pass on to you because I was messaging you frantically about it. So then what was kind of your take on it?
Well, whenever you come to me and you say, oh, this is the best film of all time, you have to watch this, it intrigues me to no end. You have no idea How interested that one sentence from you saying it's the best film of all time or it's a great film. I'm like, what is
It's
this?
either going to go one of two ways, isn't it? Because it's either going to be Hobbs and Shaw, or it's going to be the greatest film ever, which is Hobbs and Shaw. But it's kind of a bit of a mix.
You don't usually make a habit of recommending bad films unless, we're talking about bad films and we say, oh, I need a bad film. Oh, say no more. To be honest, I had seen the adverts and things, and I think what put me off this, and I think I did see the first one before I saw the second one, just because I was really curious, and I think I watched it during the lockdowns, I want to say. It was on Netflix anyway, and I thought, okay, I'll watch it. And the first one, I didn't exactly think it was an amazing film. I thought it had some really funny moments, but compared to Shrek 1 and 2, compared to other DreamWorks films that are held in high esteem, I didn't think it was anything great.
I think as well, it's important to note as well that I think obviously Shrek's kind of picked back up over the last few years, but I think in general, just as Puss in Boots' Last Wish was coming out, I think Shrek was a bit stinky as a brand. You know what I mean? Obviously, I know it's picked up again now and there's a lot more nostalgia around it. I do feel like in 2020, 2021, people weren't as funny. Or, somebody once told me, blah, blah, blah. It was obviously a bit of a meme, but I feel like it wasn't as held as in high regard. You know what I mean? Because certainly 3 was a stinking film. I don't think, the Puss in Boots first one was very well received. The brand was kind of damaged. So, I don't think that many people were that interested in this film.
See, controversial take here, but I didn't really mind the 4th film. I didn't think it was amazing or anything. I still think Shrek 1 and 2, see, despite the memes, I genuinely think they're still really good films, and I would love to do a Shrek month. See, even next December, we could genuinely have enough content for a Shrek month. But anyway, putting the pin in that nightmare aside, yeah, you're completely right though, because Shrek 3 is probably one of the worst films I've seen. Well, okay, that's a bit hyperbole, but at the same time, it is a really bad film compared to the others. I think it's because you know how you get films like the first 2, they're amazing, they're really good, then you get the 3rd one and it's just the disappointment in the middle, and the 4th one's alright, but again, it doesn't hit highs of 1 and 2, and then by that point, you had your memes, you had your Shrek X Shadow the Hedgehog shippers online making meme posts and things. You have filters now on TikTok, so it's safe to say that Shrek has definitely become a bit more of a meme, and especially with the release of the Shrek 5 trailer recently, which is a whole other can of worms. So when the Puss in Boots one came out, you're completely right. It was kind of, it was alright. It wasn't anything special. It used the same animation style as Shrek, that kind of... it was still good 3D animation, but nevertheless, it was still the same as the other Shrek films, so it didn't really have its own identity. This film, on the other hand, oh boy, I had no interest after watching the first one, but then you came to me, you said, oh, this is amazing, go watch it. I watched it. I regret as well not seeing it in the cinema, because it is, and I'm going to sound so pretentious saying this, it is a visual feast for the eyes. It is so damn good. The animation, the action, the characters even, everything just blends together so damn well, and I was shocked at how good it was, especially, as I said, considering that it's a follow-up to the first Puss in Boots film, and the first Puss in Boots film, as I said, it's got its funny jokes and moments, but it's nothing really special. But this film, on the other hand, wow. And again, I totally agree with you. I saw I think it was the beginning fight with the giant as well. Again, as you were saying, people were memeing and comparing it to Attack on Titan. You could definitely see the inspiration, let's just say, between the two. It was so good. And then I was curious, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go watch this. I watched it, loved it, thought, right, you know what, we have to do an episode on it, and that leads us to today. So yeah, are you ready, Martin, for this last wish of a film?
Born ready. This is my first wish for a film.
And of course, we will be right back after these messages. Welcome to Satsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Satsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Chatsunani, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe,
stay awesome, and most importantly,
stay hydrated.
Fancy taking a humorous trip down a random topic each week? You do? Well, you're in luck. Casting Views, presented by me, Dan, and a host of guests, bring you just that. With topics from the world of entertainment, science, sport, and everyday life, there's bound to be a topic that's going to inform and amuse. Catch Casting Views every Sunday on all listening platforms now.
And we are back. So, before we dive into why we love this film so much, Martin, do you want to explain briefly what this film is about?
Absolutely. Spoilers, I guess, before I start. This film follows the story of Puss in Boots as he finds out that he's not got any lice left. As a cat, he had 9 lice. He just ate them up, and he's now on the run from death, personified, and he finds out about a magical wishing star, and he wants to get a wish to bring all his lice back. And along the way, he meets a whole bunch of characters who are also trying to get their own wishes, cultivating in a massive big fight over, and a bit of a chase, kind of like a sort of an old Western style chase towards the hidden treasure. The actual plot of the film's pretty thin, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, but yeah, that's kind of the long and short of the story beats. It's all about his journey into becoming a better person and kind of figuring out his own place in the world, and he doesn't have to be so selfish, his relationship with other people, and his relationship with others, and with his own mortality. Happy kids film, everyone.
No, you make a great point there, because, and I'm sure there's a technical term for this, but the way I usually see it in this kind of story is it's like a scaffold story.
Yeah.
You know, there's not really much to it. It's basically supporting the characters moving from point A to point B and everything, but it's the characters themselves that bring the substance to these kind of scaffolded stories, and genuinely, I think the characters do an absolutely fantastic job in this. Maybe a bit too close to the bone sometimes. There were one or two moments. I know you said it's a kids' film and you joked there about, oh, happy kids' film, but there are one or two moments where genuinely you're kind of looking down at yourself going, oh my god, this is really heavy.
Yeah. This isn't the average kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say the average Disney experience because they can get pretty dark as well, but it's not the average sort of popcorn, have a fun time experience. It's a bit wacky.
Yeah, because it's something that DreamWorks, and by extension, of course, Shrek 1 and 2 did really, really well, which is, of course, they blended a kid-friendly film with kind of mature themes, but they veiled it in a kind of childish demeanour, like, you know, love yourself, be who you want to be, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And this one, as you said, he deals with the idea of mortality, and we get one character called Perito, who, oh my god. Honestly, so there's a character who, you know, is a dog that Puss in Boots meets, and long story short, he has a very tragic story, but he veils it in this kind of comedic demeanour. And you know the scene where, and this is me jumping ahead a wee bit, but you know the scene where he admits his story where his, I think it was his family or whatever, they put him in a sock and they threw him in a river, and he's laughing thinking, oh, it was a prank, oh, it was a joke.
Yeah.
And see how Kitty Sawpaws looks at him and gasps. That was me. That was genuinely me. I was like, there's no way you put this in this film. Seriously, sorry, before we go on, did you have the same reaction?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I guess because they play it for last and they move on dead fast, but yeah, like, it's just like a, oh my god, that's such a bad thing to in a kid's film.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I suppose they've got all the pretty visuals and things,
Yeah.
but it doesn't take away from the utter horror that you can get in this film.
And the other one, so I just jump ahead again, but the other one, kind of like the adult theme or the sort of more mature thing they do is, this was the first, I know a few films have done it now, but this was the first film I saw that I think nailed panic attacks. They have, Puss in Boots have a panic attack, and it's like one of the first ones is like, oh, you actually went full on this. You didn't do like a kid-friendly, oh no, I'm shaking in my boots. It was like a proper panic attack, and like, I think other films have done it since, but this was the first time I'd seen a kids film kind of do it realistically, and I was like, that's mad that they're now doing this kind of stuff in kids films, but it works with the plot and stuff. I think that's one of the standout scenes in the film. It just seems like such a far cry away from Shrek. Which, you know, you're like kind of mature theme to it, but also like, this is just another level of absolute nonsense.
I mean, it's true though, because I know exactly the scene you mean, because it also deals with the themes of PTSD. The very beginning where he fights the giant, he dies. Again, that caught me off guard because I'm like, oh, Jesus, this is a very short film.
Done. One and done.
Yeah, genuinely, I was like, oh, okay. And then they go through the different deaths, and I thought that was such a clever idea of playing on the whole cats have 9 lives and him wanting these lives back and being frivolous. I thought that was just such a great idea. And then, of course, death literally catches up with him to say, oh, he wants to make him suffer and and things. And again, that's really dark because whenever death is introduced, it's usually the Grim Reaper, the big cloak, the big scythe, and I'm going to get you with my big bony hand, ghost of future, past style kind of thing. But this wolf is terrifying, isn't he? And what I love as well is apparently if you pause at the right moments, he is actually in the background.
Yeah, he's in different scenes right at the start and stuff.
Yeah, and that is such a good attention to detail there. Honestly, I genuinely didn't know until I was watching reviews on it, and people are like, oh, isn't that cool? He's been in the background the entire time. I'm like, what? Like, oh no. And I love the reason behind it, that Death is just so petty and just so angry because the reason he's chasing them is he's angry that he wasted his lives, and because he has 9 lives, he's been taunting Death. And that is just such a clever way to personify Death. It's almost like the way Greek gods are personified. It's like on the one hand, these kind of very powerful polytheistic beings who they have all the power in the cosmos, but on the other hand, they've got very human flaws. Well, in this case, very animalistic flaws, where he doesn't just want to take Puss's life, because I think if he wanted to at the very beginning, he could have just snuck up on him and boom, that would have been it. But it's the fact that he relishes in it, like a wolf would, being a predator. He wants to savour it. You know, he does the whistle, which causes him to have the panic attacks later on, which is so damn good. That whole beginning scene where he's fighting him, and you're so used to seeing Puss in Boots being the cat on top, where he always finds a way to get out of trouble, and he does his whole, fear me if you dare, and then he just smacks his rapier out his hand, and he's like, okay, let's try that again. And, you know, initially you think, is this supposed to be for laughs? Or, because you know that way initially when he does it for the first time, it's like, oh, ha ha ha. And then the second time he does it, it's like, oh no, this is gonna die. And there's like the blood on his head and everything. His life flashes before his eyes. You get to see a wee cameo from Shrek, which is quite cute, but at the same time, it's like, geez, oh. And then he has to Shawshank his way out of the place.
I was going to say, I think that's the crux of that scene as well, because he's so flamboyant and so proud, and during the scenes at the start, he's so over the top, and then he's crawling for a toilet to get out. It's like such an amazing fall from grace so quickly. They really go from this film's a bit of a giggle to, oh, this guy's an absolute menace that's chasing him.
And it's just, see the whistle. In fact, I think I probably heard the whistle on TikTok first. So it became a meme because obviously TikTok will grab anything in its greasy talons and make it into a meme and say, oh yeah, listen to this. But I remember hearing that whistle thinking, oh, haha, what a funny meme. And then, of course, when you watch the film, you feel quite anxious when you hear it because you're like, oh my God, this is a song Puss in Boots nearly died to. Wow. Enjoy, kids. Enjoy your TikTok dance. But, it's just honestly so good. Those are the two standout characters. Well, sorry, two of the standout characters. And I'm putting emphasis on the of because there are so many that we are obviously going to go through because, as I said, you've got Puss in Boots, you've got Death, you've got Perito, you've got Kitty Softpaws, who's actually not bad. She's quite a really fun character to watch. But the one character, and I think you and I are on the same wavelength with this, that I absolutely love as a character, I love to hate him as well, and that is Jack Horner.
Yes.
One of the best animated villains I think I've seen in a long time, because it is so refreshing, and I think maybe it's just I'm very Disney-brained when it comes to this, but ever since Frozen, spoilers, Disney have been doing a lot of twist villains, you know, where it's like, oh look, it's a nice person, plot twist, they're evil, they're going to trip up your gran in Nazda. You know, I don't want to see that Disney film.
I was going to say, that's a really underwhelming Disney film. This is my plan. My evil plan is to trip out your granny, and I was, all right.
Grandma got tripped by a reindeer. Anyway, Disney, call me. Then it's like family members and the kind of people who, you know, they're not really villains, but they still portray them as, oh, they're awful. And the Disney villains, as I said, they've been quite underwhelming. Jack Horner is just unapologetically evil.
He's got no redeeming features. Nothing.
I just love the fact that they don't even try. There's even a bit where, and I love the flashback where Jack Horner, of course, is named after the children's, it's not a fable, when he actually says that in the film, it's like, it's not a fable, it's like a children's song or something, and he sticks his thumb in a plum or something like that, and he's doing a dance for everyone, and he gets outshone by Pinocchio. Oh, I was howling at that. I was like, that is so funny, and that's why he hates magical creatures. I'm like, oh, that is hilarious.
And they don't try to be like, oh, that's such a sad backstory.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come round. He's like, no, he is just pure evil because of this slight.
He's so petty. All of the villains are petty in this, but in the best way possible. Because, I love at the beginning, it's like, oh, I'll give you your weight in gold. And he turns one of the sisters into literal gold with the Midas touch. He's got unicorn horns that he says. Does he not say he snapped him off a baby unicorns or something?
Something like that, man.
It's like comically ridiculously evil, but it's so funny. He ends up shooting his own people and they just explode, and you're like, oh my god. And my favourite side character is the James Stewart Jiminy Cricket.
Legally distinct Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, geez, you can't do that. It's like, I love it so much. I don't know why that tickled me so perfectly, but I was just
It's so good.
oh, look, it's a noble phoenix. He just uses it as a flamethrower. It's like, oh my god, what are you doing? Oh, I love it. I can't.
It's so good.
Oh, I can't stress how much I love it. That's the sad thing, because you've also got Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And while I like their characters, I feel as if that's the only part of the film you could have probably gone without.
See, I would actually disagree. And for my reason being is, I get the story going into it, but see the final standoff at the end, where they all kind of settle. Not to spoil too much, I'm going to come back to this a bit, but I really, really like that at the end of the film, you've got that kind of good, the bad, the ugly thing. Every character's got a really solid and clear motivation for why they're there. It becomes so complicated and messy as a scene, and I think the Goldilocks and Three Bears, actually, maybe you could cut it to make a shorter film, but I actually think they get a lot of good screen time and they deserve like the payoff at the end, to the stage where it's like the last scene is such a beautiful mess of characters all have their own motivations and reasons that are different from each other, so that I wouldn't cut any characters. And also Papa Bear's accent, phenomenal. So hard disagree. Is it Ray Winston, his name
is it Ray Winston? Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, I was going to say, but I just wanted to fact check before I dived into that. Yeah, Ray Winston is a villain.
So good, man.
Oh, we're the best. It's like, so good. The thing I'll say is, initially, I wasn't 100% in Goldilocks and the Three Bears when I first saw them. I thought, all right, they're just the tertiary characters, they're just filling the story, which, don't get me wrong, initially they are, but you are completely right. As much as I'm saying, you could cut them out, and again, technically you could, but the thing I love about them is there's a scene later on where when they touch the map to go to the star, it takes you through different areas in different lands, and it's very personal depending on who's touching the map, which I absolutely love. I think
it's a brilliant idea. Steal that for every one of my Dungeons & Dragons campaigns forever.
Exactly, yeah. So good. I love the creativity in this, and it's something that the Shrek series as a whole, at least for the first two anyway, they were so clever in doing that, and I love how they did it in this film, that they kept it more of a fantasy film, but they did it in such a clever way. I love how Goldilocks and the Three Bears, they do find the home that she was raised in, and that's where they found her, and it's just such a lovely scene, because it's that idea of, Goldilocks is the OG found family, isn't she? Story where she comes in, she steals a porridge, messes up their beds and their chairs, and they still adopt her. Well, in the nice versions they do. Let's not talk about there's grim versions. But it's such a beautiful story, it's like it doesn't matter, because she wants to find who she is, and then she comes to terms with the fact that this is her family. I love that. I think that's such a great message for, well, not just kids, but just people in general. I think that's just such a beautiful message. And the fact that they gave her and the Three Bears such a fleshed out motivation is just so good, and it's just so nice to see, as opposed to genuinely they could have just made them generic, funny thugs and everything, and they didn't. They had the opportunity, they had it in the crosshairs, and they didn't take that shot, so fair play on them.
Yeah, and I think honestly one of the few films where, like I said, that final sequence, see when they're all closing in on the star, I was so excited for that scene. Every character, you get why they're there. They've done a really good job of fleshing out everyone's motivation and in like relationship to each other as well. You understand what Goldilocks and Free Bears think of Jack Horner, you understand what they think of Puss in Boots, and you understand what Jack Horner thinks of Puss in Boots. You know, in it's relationships, the interpersonal relationships, you know, and it's like I was genuinely, I think I actually turned my wife and I was like, this is incredible, this film. I was hyped up going into this final sequence, and that really, really, very rarely happens in films.
Yeah.
Especially so many films. I don't want to say it's predictable because this film is kind of predictable, I guess, but there's probably a good ending where any of those characters get the wish. Probably a fine ending of writing the story. I wouldn't say unpredictable, but there's so many different ways they could have played that end scene in a way that makes it quite unpredictable. Yeah, just very rare for me to get to the end of a film and genuinely not have a clue what's going to happen. That's what's so exciting, I think, about this film.
Yeah, I was really surprised at that ending, you know, because I genuinely thought, oh, one person's going to get a wish, and then is it safe to jump into the ending?
I think we have to. I think I've mentioned it 4 times now.
Yeah. So, of course, at the very end, you know, and again, it's a fantastic journey, but at the very end, they get to the wish and they have to fight a Titan version of Jack Horner. In fact, before that, they fight Death, but that's another thing I'll touch on in a minute. But they fight Jack Horner and everything, and then they end up destroying the piece of paper instead of taking the wish. Goldilocks has the opportunity to take the wish, but she decides to save her family, who are the bears. Puss in Boots decides that he has one life and he should use it to the fullest, which, again, absolutely adore that message. Because obviously, we're not cats, you know. At least I hope we're not. But none of us have 9 lives. We've all got one life. As morbid as that sounds, you know, it is such a surprising and disarming message, you know, and it's so good the way they do it, but it's the fact that he has had all these lives, these grand adventures, and now he's realising the true value of life, that he can finally appreciate it now that he's down to his last life. And he has this amazing action sequence against Death, one final bout, and they fight, and, you know, he brings up his rapier and he does the whole, again, fear me if you dare. Antonio Banderas absolutely killing it. And, you know, they fight, and what I love is it's not even so much that Puss in Boots beats Death. That's one other thing I do like. The fact he doesn't really beat him, but he brings him to a stalemate, and then Death has a hissy fit and he goes into a big rant in Spanish. It's like, Dios mío, da da da. And he's really angry because it's like, this isn't how it was supposed to play out. He was supposed to
take the fun out of it.
Yeah, exactly. He was supposed to, you know, be fearful, and he was supposed to take his time and enjoy it. And yeah, now he's realised the value of it. It's a bit like, you know, when you get animes where they do the whole power of friendship thing,
yeah,
and then the villain's just like, what the hell? Come on. Yeah, it's like that, where he's just like, oh, you've ruined it. You've ruined it. I'm going home.
That's what's so good about it, because he doesn't even have to beat Death. Like, that's what's so cool in my mind. It's not absurd that Puss in Boots holds his own with it. You know what I mean? It's not like he actually beats Death and then the metaphor is just lost. It's that Death's still watching him and he's still waiting for him, but the metaphor sort of continues. And that fight scene itself is so gorgeous, with the flames, the sort of in and out of that really hyper, I don't want to call it the Spider-Verse animation, but that hyper version of the Spider-Verse animation with all the things of tearing apart, and just an incredibly well put together fight scene. The choreography, I don't know if do you call it choreography in animation? We're calling it choreography. It's brilliant. That fight scene itself is such an intricate bit of detail. The bit where you just see like the silhouettes fighting, there's just so much going on. And obviously he gets to use like the little sword as well. I forget what it's called now, but the little dagger that he's got, he uses that. It's just brilliant. Death switching between different weapons. Like, there's just so much goes on. They pack so much into such a little bit of detail. Yeah, just phenomenal. That fight scene alone would probably have put that film in my top 10, but like everything else around it puts it even higher.
Because, I mean, going back to what we were saying at the beginning, the opening fight scene against the giant is, it is spectacular. I know we said it's like Attack on Titan, but that's
it's not like it is Attack on Titan. It straight up is, and it's so much better for it.
It really is. I mean, it's the fact that he looks as if he's having so much fun with it. He's doing the flips, he's diving in the air, you've got that. Again, I think sometimes the animation, see when it's an action scene, they kind of do that thing where they reduce the frame rate.
Yeah.
Again, not to coin the Spider-Verse thing, but it is very Spider-Verse, bad guys, if you're a DreamWorks fan, you know, that kind of animation where when it's the action, they kind of slow it down, but also keep up the pace. Because one of my favourite action scenes in this film as well is, see when Jack Horner catches up to them in the land where the star has fallen, and they have this huge battle. It's like a three-way battle between Jack Horner and the chefs. You've got Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You've got the trio of heroes, of course. And then that scene where Puss just can't compose himself because he's just seeing all these things go by. You know, he's running away, sees somebody literally blow up in front of him because they get shot by a unicorn
I was
horn.
specific on this. It is one of Jack Horner's men gets shot by Jack Horner. Specifically, I want that noted. The person with the highest kill count in this film of Jack Horner's men is Jack Horner.
Pretty much. Is there not one person that survives to the end and then he gets rid of her or something? Can't remember, but no, he kills all of them. That's what I'm trying to say. That is horrifying, but he is such a good villain for it. We love an evil king in this house.
Tall King.
But yeah, the whole action scene there is fantastic, and I love how almost at times claustrophobic it feels, because we zoom into Puss, trying to get away, and he's weaving in and out, and the camera's really close, and then we get the Death whistle. Literally, Death is just whistling, saying, "Oh, I'm here." And then again, what you were saying earlier, he has the panic attack, he flees, and then Burrito finds him and calms him down, which I think is such a lovely scene as well. Because initially, see, when I first saw Burrito, I thought, great, this is going to be one of these characters. He's going to get annoying. He's going to be the really annoying sidekick that's going to have all the catchphrases and whatnot. But he was a very complex character, and I don't know how to feel about that.
I actually kind of wanted him to be. But no, he's brilliant.
Oh, no, he's fantastic. And I love that. See, when he says at the beginning, oh, he wanted to be a therapy dog, and it's such a throwaway line, and then he actually does become a therapy dog by calming him down, and I thought that was so lovely. Me looking in tears at my own dog, and my own dog's rolling her eyes going, oh God, here we go. But it's like, so beautiful. I do love that whole theme of, and I think that is one of the major themes in this, of found family, because of course you've got Puss and Kitty and Burrito, you've got the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, they're their own found family, the OG found family, as I said. Jack Horner obviously is the one who's left out of this, and that's for obvious reasons, because he's Jack Horner. He's a bad man.
Rejects anything of family.
Oh, sorry, let me quote James Stewart's Jiminy Cricket. That's horrible. You're horrible. He's so horrible, but he does it so well. I don't know how to feel about that. But honestly, I cannot praise this film enough. As I said, action, love it. The animation, love it all the more.
One scene I want to quickly touch on. This is maybe a controversial statement for me, but we'll see what it. In Empire Strikes Back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars. They have the scene where Luke goes into the cave and he fights Vader and he chops Vader's head off, and it turns out to be Luke in his vision. Puss in Boots did the scene better. I'm just going to throw it out here. See the scene where they go into the cave and he sees all his 8 lice on the glass walls, and he kind of has an argument with himself and a self-reflection of who he is and who he's becoming, and kind of arguing with his different versions of his past self. And it's something that I've thought about a lot as well in my own life, of what would my past self think of me now, and they all kind of make fun of him for changing, which I think is really fun, really interesting. What would your past self think of the positive changes you made in your life? Sometimes it's okay to totally change path, and then Death comes in and kills all the 8 lice himself. That is what I think the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back scene should have been. So,
see, in all seriousness, I thought you were going to say it was better than what they did in The Last Jedi.
I mean, that isn't that controversial if I said that. I'm saying that Puss in Boots' Last Wish did a better scene than Empire Strikes Back, which I think might be more controversial.
What, so you're thinking that he chops off Death's head and it's just Puss in Boots' head instead?
That'd have been so weird for Star Wars. No, I think in Star Wars, they should have gone into a cave and he should have spoke to different versions of himself and found out who the man he was becoming, and then a cutout of Vader killed everyone.
I like to think just a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, it's a cardboard cutout of Vader, because that scene makes way more sense, and I love the Puss in Boots version. I think they did the Cave of Reflection better than Star Wars did it. I will stand by that.
See, in all seriousness, and I'm going to kind of sidestep that point.
Coward. Pick it up.
I must flee. Yeah, Star Wars fans are scary, guys. Now, jokes aside, not for Star Wars fans, but jokes aside, that is actually a really great interpretation of that scene. And you are completely right, because it is Death that literally gets rid of those lives, because as a metaphor as well, he comes in and he pushes him over, and he literally took those lives away from him because of his stupid, reckless nature throughout his life, saying, oh, I've got 9 lives, so I can waste them however I want, and they're really stupid.
Eating shellfish is my favourite one, I think.
Yeah, I love whatever.
Or the bench press guy, like, obviously, but...
Oh, I love that variant of him. No,
It's
Puss
so
in Boots
massive.
does not need a spotter. It's like, oh no, Puss, no. There's so many great ones. But that's such a great point you make, though, because, I mean, thinking back to my own life, I do agree. I think as my younger self, I would look forward and be like, I can't believe I'm saying The Simpsons did it better than Empire Strikes Back.
True.
But you know the scene where Homer and Barney are singing and Grandpa comes in and he's like, I used to know what was hip, but now it's out and it'll happen to you. And then Homer's like, no way, man. This will be cool forever. Never.
What scene in Star Wars are you referencing this to?
The Cave of Reflection. Come on, man. Keep up.
Oh, sorry, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. I know. It's so subtle. It's like poetry, right?
Yeah, I got it now. Perito's a funnier character move I had before, I get it.
In all seriousness, it's that idea of thinking that when you're younger, you're never going to change. You think you're always going to be this person for the rest of your life, which, of course, when you're younger, that causes insecurity. You think, oh, I hate the way I am. And then, you know, as an older person, you look back and go, well, you can change. You know, you can evolve, you can choose different habits, you can choose different hobbies. But, you know, you're so consumed in the moment, as it were.
And things that seem important as well, not to go too deep into it, but, like, you know, things that seemed really important to you as a kid, and if you were to, like, with a teenager, and if that teenage self asked, do you care about this? And you're probably like, no. But just an example, I used to be super uptight about my music taste, you know, that kind of whole pretentious thing with that. And a bit of 18-year-old me asked me who my favourite band was, and I'm like, at the moment it's probably Billie Eilish. And I'd be horrified at myself. You know, that's just what growing up is. And so I just think that scene's just dead fun. It's a good bit of self-reflection on yourself.
Yeah, it's a bit like me when I was younger. I'd be like, yay, Sonic. And then when I was a teenager, I'm like, oh yeah, Call of Duty, yeah, Halo, yeah, Gears of War. Now in my 30-somethings, I'm like, yay, Sonic. Honestly, if you're a younger listener listening to this, trust me.
Your taste will change.
Your taste will change and then they'll look back. Trust me.
Yeah. Another one, sorry, just to kind of jump on a bit. Another scene that's also kind of a parody of another scene from another film, but I think Puss in Boots does it better. I can't believe I'm saying this. See the bit on the boat where Katie Softpaws shaves him? And it's kind of supposed to, I know it's obviously a few scenes into one, but the scene in, is it Skyfall, where James Bond gets shaved by Miss Moneypenny? The Puss in Boots one's another better version. Like, there's a couple of scenes, like you talk about structure, scaffolding, plot. They've taken a couple of heavy plot points from other films and done them better, and it's kind of wacky. Like, I'm saying this, I love James Bond, but again, this film took that kind of story beat and went, no, we're going to make this a super endearing but very playful and funny scene, enjoying it all together, and get a good character moment in there. Way more precise and better than I think other films that have done that same kind of idea I've really ever managed. And I love this film. I know I've kind of said that, but see, every time I mention another scene, I'm like, this scene's brilliant.
Because, I mean, even the comedy in this film, this is the thing about films like this, where you think, okay, this is a great film, but surely there must be a flaw, you know, the comedy might not land even though the action's great, or the story might not be as good, or the characters might not be, but in a weird way, they all kind of fuse together, ironically enough, coming to the same point, both at the end, and, you know, just narratively, they all come together at the same point in their lives, and then they decide how they are going to be going forward. They're going to deal with their troubles and their trials and tribulations, and it's just such a damn good way they do it. And it all fuses together. It all works. Everything slots in, and it's absolutely incredible how they do it. I mean, is it a bit wacky and over the top? Obviously, you know, it's Puss in Boots.
But that's what we're here for.
Exactly. You're not here for Citizen Kane, The Shawshank Redemption. You know, you're not here for a serious thriller or something like that. And yet somehow it delivers on that. You know, because I'm going to be honest, although it's a kids' film and, you know, usually you can predict, oh, that's going to happen, this is going to happen, I had no idea where this film was going. I'm going to be honest. Genuinely, I thought, not a clue. But it's fantastic. I cannot think of really a better film in recent memory, especially from the big hitters like DreamWorks, because I'm obviously not including things like the Sonic the Hedgehog film and things like that. That's a whole different... I mean, that's a different blend.
No way Sonic the Hedgehog film's better than this. If you said Minions, I might have wavered, but Sonic the Hedgehog, I'm not having that.
Do you see the stick I'm prodding you with? Say the line.
The fishing reel you've got away with.
The Big the Cat fishing reel. But no, jokes aside, I genuinely can't think of an animated film recently that I've seen personally, because I know there's been quite a few that have come out, like, well, someone from the Podpack Collective, Marie keeps telling me to watch Flow.
Yeah, I've heard that's really good.
Yeah, I've heard that's good. I've heard there's a lot of other ones.
What I would say though for things like Flow and all that is, I think there will be films obviously better than Puss in Boots Last Wish, but I will say these films kind of set out to be autistic films and they present themselves as that. Well, so I think you kind of have an advantage, if that makes sense, like in being perceived as autistic. Well, I think that the fact that this film had no right to be this good, this is what I think makes it so tremendous, is that the whole thing of it being a sequel to a spin-off of the third film in a franchise. I think it will forever be the hardest any film has ever gone when it shouldn't have bothered.
Yeah.
You know that? Like...
As a kind of closing point, the only thing I was disappointed in was in the Shrek 5 reveal, there was no Puss in Boots.
See, I swerved back and forth on this.
Yeah.
'Cause on the one hand, yeah, I would have loved to have seen all that, but on the other hand, I do kind of have that, I don't want to call it the Marvel fear, but I would actually be happy to never see these characters again. And not in like a sense of I'm done with them, but in the sense of like that story is so perfectly wrapped up. I do get this a lot though, to be fair. Like, I think I've said this in the podcast before, whenever I watch a show and it's like one season long, I'm pretty satisfied with that. You don't need to make a second season. And I often get proven wrong, like Squid Games or Mandalorian and stuff. Well, this film, I was like, this is so good that I would be satisfied to never see any of these characters ever again. Not in like, I hate them, but like just in a sense of you have completed film, tick, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever need to see Puss in Boots get any more character development because I think they've perfected his character and this film is perfect in my mind. But I actually kind of don't want him to turn up in Shrek 5. I don't want it to be a sequel. I would love for this to be the last Puss in Boots film and just draw the line under it. I don't know how to express that. I think I've done a good job of it, but I love things having a distinct end. I think that's something that I don't like about a lot of things now, is I feel like things get dragged on in the so on sort of cinematic universe thing. I love just one and done for a film. Obviously, I appreciate this as a sequel to a spin-off, blah, but if they drew the line and said that's us done with Puss in Boots, I'd be like, congratulations, you finished at the greatest time ever. That was the best possible way to end it. You know what I mean?
Here's a controversial suggestion though. How would you feel if they had a Puss in Boots 3, but they had Shrek as a cameo character? You know that episode of The Simpsons where they have this spin-off shows and it's like Chief Wiggum in New Orleans and it's like, why, if it isn't my favourite friends, The Simpsons?
I would hate it. If they did like a Cleveland show version of Puss in Boots, I'm okay, thanks.
So a Megamind style show.
Yes.
Oh, anyway, on that horrible note, that was the one wish I'd be asking for. Please don't make this into a TV show.
If I was getting that wish right now, it'd be, we're done with Puss in Boots, thanks, don't make anything else involving them. You've done your job.
I don't feel so good.
You've perfected film. You've completed it, mate.
10 out of 10.
10
You're
out of 10.
done.
All the achievements have been unlocked. Platinum trophy, 100% completion. Your game's been locked. Turn your PC off, you've done it.
Your ogre sells Avon, get out.
Exactly. It can only be made worse by what comes next.
And on that very sombre note, much like the film itself, Martin, thank you so much for coming on today and talking about this absolutely fantastic film.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. I have loved talking about this. I've been wanting to talk about this film. I don't even feel like we discussed much. We just gushed over it. I love that because I could probably talk about this film for another hour and say nothing new.
Yeah.
We just... just how much I love it. Yeah, thanks for having me on to talk about it. I've been loving this and I'm looking forward to seeing what else we talk about in AniMAYtion Month that won't be as good.
I honestly can't wait because next week you and I are jumping into the wrong trousers. Trust me, it makes sense in context. Don't know why I said it like that.
I was going to say, if you just rolled with it, it wouldn't have been weird, but now you stopped to call it out.
Yeah, next week we're of course going to be diving into the weird and wonderful, mainly wonderful world of Wallace and Gromit, which I cannot wait for. That's going to be fantastic. The week after, Andrew and I are going to be talking about the slightly interesting world of Detective Pikachu. And then the penultimate episode will, of course, be about the beautiful anime film that Andrew and I will be talking about, Your Name. And then finally, we have a wildcard episode that we're going to be trying out. So please stay tuned for that because it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to reveal what it's going to be. But before we wrap up this episode, Martin, where can these lovely Pandalorian listeners find your content?
If you want to hear more from me, see more from me, talk to more from me, I'll be all over social media. The best place to find me are Instagram and TikTok. Just search up Martin MacAlistair, you will find me. And I can't promise I'll be talking about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but if you message me about it, I will reply.
Your DMs are going to look very interesting the next couple of days.
Hell yeah. My DMs are full of people just sending me Puss in Boots: The Last Wish stuff. I'll be fine with that. That's all from me.
And if you would like to check out more episodes of AniMAYtion Month, as well as many other episodes from ourselves, not Puss in Boots related, mind you, which is a shame, you can indeed catch us on our website, Satsunami.com, as well as all good podcast apps. I also want to thank our amazing Pandalorian patrons, Robotic Battle Toaster, Sonia, Ghostie, and Cryptic1991. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And if you would like early access to episodes, exclusive episodes, commentary tracks, Martin's 10-hour rant about this film, totally uncut, just raw.
Yes.
I think maybe an hour of it is just him sleeping.
The hour of me sleeping, though, I'm still murmuring about it. I'm sleep talking, thinking about the film.
No, Jack Horner. Then indeed you can check us out at, for legal reasons that last one's a joke, but you can indeed check us out.
There's also an hour and a half watch along, but it's just me saying this is so good. This is great.
Peak.
This is so good. Peak cinema. This
Let
is so
him
good.
cook.
Let him cook. This is like an hour and a half of just me saying those 10 lines over and over again like I'm an NPC in a game.
Just soy pointing. Yes, then you can indeed. Other than that, I feel sorry for the person signing up to Patreon and then they're like, here's the commentary track.
If you sign up to Patreon and you want that commentary track, message Satsu and I will sit and watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and I will make that commentary track for you.
Yeah, genuinely, we will do it. Yeah,
I don't need an excuse to watch that film again, but if you give me one, I'll watch it again.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we will do it. And that Patreon, of course, is at patreon.com/Chatsunami. This podcast is, of course, a member of the Podpack Collective. For further information, check out our Twitter/X page at Podpack Collect. But until next time, thank you all so much for tuning in to the first episode of AniMAYtion Month. Stay safe, stay awesome, stay hydrated, and most importantly, don't get Martin another copy of this film because he's probably got too many.
Buy me more copies of this film.
For one copy, you can keep him off the streets.
I'll give you Satsu's address, send it to him, he'll give it to me.
And on that note, goodbye, guys.